My name is Mladen Miličić and I am the Solutions Director here at Erlang Solutions. The event we are embarking on today will mark a start of a series of webinars we're looking to organize across topics of interest in the world of Erlang and dealing with solutions based on the Erlang programming language. We thought long and hard about the first topic to discuss and decided on speaking about an Erlang-based product that we have applied to great success with one of our customers operating within the telecommunications industry. The product I'm referring to is Buzzard, a gateway we have developed for and applied with Velti, a leader in mobile marketing and mobile advertising. With this being the first of the webinars we're running, please excuse any technical issues we may be encountering today. Just to start by telling you a bit about Erlang Solutions, we are a products and services orientated company completely devoted to the Erlang programming language. Since our founding in 1998, we have worked with organizations and individuals using Erlang, helping evolve the language and supporting people and organizations using it. Today we have about 70 people across our offices in London, Stockholm, Krakow and Budapest, and working on projects across the globe. We fly the Erlang flag, as you might say, and are keen on creating value and competitive advantage for our customers across industries and through the unique features and characteristics of Erlang as a language. We're very ambitious in development of Erlang-based products, and we work to create lasting partnerships with our customers. I'm particularly pleased to say that today we have a representative of one of our long-standing clients in the shape of Marcus Kern, the VP of Technology at Velti, who will be telling you about Velti's own experience with Buzzard, the messaging gateway we developed and deployed with them. Marcus has, from the very start, taken a pivotal role in Buzzard implementation at Velti and will be in a position to share the intricacies of the system and its key features. Please allow me to finish by saying you're welcome to post questions throughout the duration of the webinar by using the chat facility. Our speaker, Marcus Kern, will answer as many questions as time allows at the end of the webinar. If any questions do go unanswered, then please, you're welcome to raise them via email using the following address, which is webinar@erlang-solutions.com. If you're interested in learning more about Buzzard or wish to establish whether it may be a solution for the challenges your own business may be facing, then please feel free to use the same email, webinar@erlang-solutions.com, and we will address your queries. The same goes for any other questions you might have. Feel free to contact us. I would now like to hand over to Marcus Kern, who will be glad to tell you a bit more about Buzzard.
Okay, so welcome everybody. This is also my first webcast. I have presented about the system several times before, often with an audience that I can see. This is the first time where there are a lot of people who I can't see and who also can't really talk to me. So I'm trying to do this still as engaging as I can. I have a number of slides here together, put together for this. I want to speak about my experience at Velti and previously as Orban Active Group, where I was the CTO, of implementing this gateway. So I'll tell you a little bit overall about the rationale behind this, why we developed this together, and what some of the features are of the gateway, and why this also could make sense for you. So I do start with a little boilerplate about Velti as well. Now this is really small on your screen, but Velti is a very large company. It's a NASDAQ-listed company, and one of the functions that it also fulfills is mobile marketing and also platform architecture. So this particular platform here fits really very well into those two areas there, where we do mobile engagements, particularly for large brands, and we provide platforms and platform technology solutions for our clients in that way. So I'm going to move on and tell you a little bit about the background, what this project was all about in that sense. So in the previous company, Mobile Interactive Group, which was acquired by Velti in 2011, of which I was the CTO, is a company that we started in 2005. And we started as a mobile messaging aggregation business. So that means that we have connectivity to the different network operators, and we effectively resell this to our clients, and also we provide services through it in the same way. We were very successful in the UK. We became market leaders. One of the reasons was that we were very good in high performance, and we were able to address the overall media and TV market. We built our success on a licensed platform, so this wasn't actually our own platform. It was run by a third party at the time. And as we grew and became bigger and bigger, and we had more and more mouths to feed in our own company, in 2010, we decided to take the destiny in our own hands and build a new mobile messaging gateway from the ground up. We had some core business challenges in the fact that we effectively had a running business. We couldn't just build a new startup and have a new kit and then grow the traffic and the customers on there slowly. But we had live 24/7 services. We got TV services on there, radio services. You know, a large number of blue chips and brands, and the third party that we had this platform with became estranged over time as a business partner. So we also were working under conditions which made it difficult for us to be cooperating with the legacy provider. That gives you a bit of the project background, how we got to that point, and then I'll tell you a bit more about what we want to build effectively. So in this slide here, I'm going to keep this really, really simple. There's a lot more to it, but in really simple terms, the gateway is all about protocol conversions, the ability to buffer, so to queue messages, and the ability to report on events effectively. So the protocols that we were concerned with and this gateway supports are SMPP, very widely used. UCP, used a lot in Holland and Benelux and some other countries. As different XML variants, so these are things that operators are asking us to do that are not standardized. And then on the client side, we have, so the clients connect to us via HTTP or SMPP or also UCP now as well. The messaging is always bidirectional, so we send and receive messages to the handset and from the handset. I assume that you may be familiar with it, but for people who aren't, MO stands for mobile originated, MT for mobile terminated, and DR for delivery reports. So this is messages to and from the handset, and also delivery ports coming back from the network. We support 19 different message types in the gateway. These are types of your standard text messages, flash messages, so they're not going to the inbox, replacement present messages, binary messages, ringtone, logo messages, although those are, I guess, no longer really relevant. They were the Nokia ringtones of the early 2000s. And of course, there's lots of business logic in these gateways. As always, as you grow your business, you will implement certain advantages for your business by putting in certain business logic in and allowing your clients to do things slightly differently. We were also very much focused as we knew this is a growing business, and we had now made significant revenue over for the first 4 years, that we wanted to have something that is absolutely resilient. So the ability to have points of failure without affecting the overall service was very important to us. So this was built across 2 different data centers. They could be running hot on both sides. And this is important that it's highly concurrent so that we can support television shows. So when consumers would all text in all at the same time, that we were able to do that, and obviously have a way of scaling the system so that we'll be able to grow with it with our demands as we go on. I'm going to go to the next slide. In this next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about the core technologies that we employed for this and are employed for this gateway now. So its core element runs all on Erlang. So if the one thing that you would take away from it, I guess from the invitation anyway, is that it's based on Erlang. It is the language of choice for us for a number of reasons that I come to a bit later. We use for the web server, we use Gen HTTPD. Erlang itself comes with a few telco core protocols. So we use the OTP libraries for that, and XML for XML parsing. We used Riak and Bitcask as the core database strategies. Vertica as the data warehouse engine, and what's not on this slide but on the later slide is MySQL as our store for configuration data. We also built effectively a user interface in Ruby on Rails. So in order to have an administrative interface that people can use to configure this, that's all in Ruby above and Ruby on Rails. We had to do obviously a number of other sort of adaptations that I'm not going to go into here now, what different networks are doing, and the usual things that you need on gateways, which is the queuing logic, logging, alarming, and all those things. So they're all in place. When I look at the data stores now in a bit more detail, because that's often what distinguishes one gateway from another, you'd see that we have decided for different database technologies or data storage technologies for different purposes. So we've got the configuration data, which is entered through the user interface, is stored with the user interface in a MySQL database. But on the actual Erlang nodes, it's stored in Amnesia. It needed to be highly available and easy to use. As such, the sort of Amnesia memory-only table replicated across all nodes is perfect for config data and config information. We use Riak as a NoSQL, no-master database to hold state, which is important for mobile messaging gateways, but not really to report on. So for reporting, we chose Vertica as a technology to import the data in. The gateway itself does not depend on Vertica, so if you have your own data warehouse technology that you'd like to utilize, that's fine. The gateway itself produces a lot of log files. They're then ready for an ETL process to get them into the data warehouse and report from there. Important to say is that we built the system in such a way that the data warehouse is only 2 minutes behind. So we want to make sure that you can do near real-time reporting through the data warehouse. So the overall process of log file and ETL is very crucial to have that done well. And then there's obviously a number of queues in the system, and we use Bitcask for that. And there are other technologies that you may also use for these things, but we found them as quite reliable and functional at that stage. So we go into the next slide, which is all about scaling. So this is effectively quite simple. Visually, I wanted to say here that we've decided to compartmentalize the gateway into 3 different areas: the client area, the routing area, the network area. So as you can imagine, the client side has got connectivity to all of our customers, whereas the network side has got the connectivity to all the mobile networks. And the routing bit in the middle does all the business logic and so on. We wanted to make sure we can scale this independently so that when we would see bottlenecks with, let's say, client response times or with mobile network legacy implementations, that we can scale them independently. So therefore, they themselves have a number of servers attached to them. Our design requirements for the overall gateway were to exceed 10,000 messages per second, although it really is the connectivity that's always the largest variant. So we wanted to make sure that the gateway is fast enough to cope with whatever networks or clients can throw at us in that sense. So I think that's probably enough said about scaling for the moment. We'll come back to the question maybe later. We go to the platform resilience requirements there. So we wanted to exceed 99.9. We didn't really go to 5 nines. It wasn't a requirement as such, but we wanted to certainly be better than just 99.5%. Generally speaking, even planned outages are extremely undesirable with any of our customers because they themselves have built businesses on top of connectivity that's available. So it's not really so much about how much downtime you can have, but you've got to really build a platform that can live without downtime at all. And that's really where Erlang excels. So being able to do hot code fix on a gateway that's running and serves, let's say, 99% of the customers well and exactly the way they should, and 1% of the customers are having an issue. Being able to fix those 1% of customers an issue for them without influencing anybody else on the gateway is really key, and Erlang's capability to do that is much appreciated there. As I mentioned before, we used Riak as a masterless database that again comes in very handy for resilience. So we can take a number of nodes down. It would not affect the overall performance of the platform. We have actually decided to spread this over all of our nodes with Riak. So that all works quite well. We also wanted to decouple certain elements. And so we have got the user interface that holds all the configuration, acting entirely separate from the core of the gateway. They communicate only via instructions that are strictly serialized. So what effectively happens is when any configuration changes on the front end, any shortcode, any keyword, any port number, that information gets packed into an instruction, and that instruction is then communicated over to Amnesia and the Erlang node for distribution, and then accepted back into as an accepted and confirmed change back into the front end. So anything that happens to the front end can never ever impact the core of the gateway. We've done the same thing with the data warehouse. I mentioned 2 minutes earlier, but effectively no complicated query to analyze specific logic of past traffic would ever impact the performance of the overall gateway. So we don't have any sort of slowdown by somebody running a very complicated query. Another word maybe about usability improvements, something that maybe becomes quite obvious quite quickly. So the user interface provides full control over all of the provisioning. So any setup of new clients, of new mobile networks, of keywords, and so on, it's all done through the front end. It's not done through any sort of configuration files in the background. We have a full audit trail of all these changes. So this means that we know who made what change, and these things can be tracked back later. Another thing here with the before and after picture is that we were, as a business, the market leaders in the UK, but effectively we had to launch a lot of service requests to this other company with an SLA of about 72 hours. So we were not guaranteed that any of those changes will actually make it in, and this is what I meant with taking destiny in our own hands. We needed to be sure that we have a capability that we can make those changes ourselves. So now it's really just a matter of the administrator to log in and change some of those parameters or report on progress. So moving on to the next slide. This is the hardware approach slide. Here I just give you a bit of an insight as to the way we deployed this technology. So as I mentioned, 2 data centers both running hot. They're less than a millisecond apart from each other. So they actually can be treated pretty much logically as a single site. The N+1 redundancy exists on either side. So on each network, on each data center side, you've effectively got it itself an N+1 redundant layer in all of those 3 categories: network, client, and routing. For that reason, we use 12 DL380s in each site. So there's quite a lot of tin that we put into this. Now, this does not need to be that way, but we wanted it to be that way. Our logic was that we felt it was important to not cut early investment money and then having to upgrade the system later, but we decided it would be a good idea to deploy this directly in a very large footprint. So it's entirely feasible to use a single data center. It's entirely feasible to have, let's say, 2 nodes per layer, so 6 nodes. So I think with something between 6 and 8 servers, you can also build your gateway, and then you can sort of evaluate whether that's sufficient throughput for your business in that sense. We're using Cisco throughout, and for load balancing, actually we found HA proxy is a very straightforward, predictable, and reliable mechanism. So we actually went for that option because we don't really require any deep packet inspection or any sorts of that. So let's see how long it took. So the build itself involved 12 man-years. So I had 12 staff working on this for 10 months. That's 10 man-years, I should say. Yeah, that's 10 man-years. That involves developers, quality engineers, and also a product manager in the process. So since we launched 2 years ago, we've did further investment, and we put another 6 man-years of development into that. It was very important for us that we work in an agile fashion. All of our development that we do in our London office is based on an agile delivery approach. It's all test-driven and behavior-driven developed. We use pair programming for it, so it's a very clean code. Yeah, I mean, all the people that understand why agile is a good idea will probably now smile and say that was a good idea. Going then over to the team, I'll just put the slide in here because it shows a bit of the human side as well. That's what we're doing. We actually worked across different territories. We had a small team working in South Africa, the largest team in London, but also we had some experts working in Paris and Stockholm and in Sicily and in Italy. And it was important for us that we didn't regard any of this to be any form of sort of outsourcing. It's offshoring. We were able to benefit from slightly smaller salary base in South Africa, but fundamentally they were all working as one team, and we found ways of working together agile that allowed us to still build very high quality in that sense. So now coming to the point of we've built it all, and so here's a bit of the challenge of what we effectively had to engage with. So we had, up until this point of migration, 50,000 or over 50,000 configured unique keywords. So this is basically legacy implementation throughout the years of all the things that the people have configured on the gateway. We had 300 unique shortcodes, more than 100 gateway clients that connect to it directly. We work with 10 directly connected mobile operators over various connections. Loads of client customizations in there, of course. And there you see our sort of average traffic at the time, about 37 million messages per month. There was no quiet time there. So there's no point where you can just say, okay, we'll take a day off now to switch this over. So really, the way we answered this call was to develop a strategy to say, we look at the risk and the complexities and say, in the first phase, we migrated services where the originating shortcode was irrelevant. So that was a small amount of traffic, but it gave us certainly the confidence that the gateway was functioning in a way that we expected. The second phase was more concerned with all of our in-house applications, and also we picked 2 partners that we wanted to launch with. And then for the phase 3, we effectively cut over all of the traffic. So phase 1 and 2 effectively required for customers to get involved and change the configuration. Whereas phase 3, it was that we didn't have to contact all the customers, but it was we were able to cut over the traffic in a 30-minute window. We wanted to make sure that we have significant confidence in phase 1 and 2 to be able to approach phase 3. And it all worked. So we're coming now towards the end of this, and I hope you've got some questions to ask me. I can see there's a little question mark bubble coming up on the side. So the Erlang Solutions as a company, and you may sort of have that as a question mark in your head, how did we work together? So Erlang Solutions provides a range of services and products. So we've worked together on the Buzzer product, but there's also Mongoose IM as a product that they have been developing. And REAG is actually in the investment group together with Erlang Solutions, so they're almost sort of brothers and sisters in that overall process. The services that we utilized here were consulting and development and even training. So we were able to work together and actually learn from the expertise that Erlang Solutions brought in to train up our own staff. and certification is not something I mentioned just here, but it's something that Mladen can maybe mention in a minute. So where are we now? 2 years on, we have connected the gateway more outside of the UK now as well, to Ireland, to Australia, to Netherlands, to Belgium. We may do more of those connections into more territories worldwide. This gateway has provided us a really good foundation to do that with and to scale with and to provide the same services into a lot of other territories, all from here. SMS is a technology that is quite tolerant in latencies when it comes to the propagation delay that internet connections have. So it's actually completely feasible to run connectivity from here to Australia and provide a good service. Over the time as well, we've developed a number of plugins that allow us to connect and interact with mobile number portability databases. So that allows us in some countries to find out which network somebody's on. Age verification for services that have to be barred from under 18-year-olds. And then daily spend limiting services and direct billing APIs, so that we were able to work with operators who said they wanted to separate the billing function from the actual message sending function. All of this is all effectively integrated through plugins into that technology. And then last year, Erlang and Velti have worked together to make this platform available for licensing through Erlang Solutions, and that's pretty much the framework within which you're watching this webcast here. So as a summary, we've successfully, I'm pleased, I'm still touching wood everywhere, make sure that nothing goes wrong, but I'm very pleased with the deployment and the implementation. We've achieved what we set out to do. We achieved it on time, in budget, and with a very, very good quality. So yeah, so really this is I guess as much as I have to say in this webcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you face similar challenges, get in touch. And Erlang Solutions certainly can help you with either building your own solution or licensing the platform to integrate in your business. So I've got now I'm at the end of my slide work here. The next one is the dynamic bit where I'm going to look at any questions that you might have. There are a few here already, so if you have any other ones, please write them up now. I'm just going to take a second now to review some of those questions here. Let's see how this goes. And I think, okay. So, again, this is very interesting. I don't have the person asking me the question directly. I'm going to start with the first one at the top, which says, my understanding is that Velti is a client for whom Erlang Solutions has developed Buzzard. That is correct. We have developed this in a partnership together, just as I mentioned that just at the end there. So the user interface, there's a question here that asks, can the Buzzard user interface be modified and developed further? Yes, it can be. It's based on Ruby on Rails, and where there are customizations required that are either specific to a customer, these can be done, or also where there's genuine improvement that would benefit all customers, those could also be rolled out for everybody in that same sense. So there's a question from Heinrich here around whether we develop the SMPP libraries ourselves or we based on something. Yes, we did base them on ESL. Now, there were a few elements that needed to be customized specifically around mobile operators. There always have to be. Mobile operators do invent their own customizations, TLV tags that they want to transport information over. So there's been customization of that. But for instance, when it came to the UCP module, UCP doesn't exist or didn't exist in the ESL library. As benefiters of open source software, we have decided to give our development of UCP back. So we made the UCP libraries available in the same fashion as also as open source to the community as well. I'm trying to just go down the list and pick also, I've noticed a couple of questions more from Heinrich and from Katarzyna. I'm going to go for this one here. Where can I download this webinar? I'm going to look at my colleagues here. Does anybody know where this is?
I can tell you that the webinar has been recorded and the slides will become available on the ESL corporate website. So following this webinar, we'll put them online and you'll be able to retrieve them from www.erlang-solutions.com.
Great. There's another question I want to pick up on here is whether Buzzard is a self-hosted environment or is hosting provided by a third party. Now I guess we are an aggregator as a company ourselves. We would not sub-license the technology through our installation itself, but the idea of the licensing for Erlang Solutions is very much a self-hosted environment, so something that would be provided on your side or in data centers that you would acquire, and then you become very much the owners of the platform and being able to operate the platform. So this is not really the idea of a software as a service plan in that sense. Couple more questions. One from Heinrich is whether we would consider an SS7 integration. The SS7 stack, or more specifically the map stack that mobile network operators use to communicate within the core network, would definitely be something we would be very interested in integrating. The issue really here is that unless we're selling this to a mobile operator who would require these, there are not many interfaces, not many, I guess, making available those SS7 interfaces to a third party is the key business challenge. So I would encourage you to get in touch and see whether the opportunity is there and that your business contact is there to look at that. What operating systems do you support? So these are all based on Linux systems. So we used, I think, I can't even remember what it was now. We used Ubuntu widespread, but I think we might have used a different Linux implementation for this. It's something, again, I think we can confirm in more detail. So do get in touch if that's important to you. And the final questions just come in. Have you worked out the total cost per SMS, and does it scale linearly as you increase the amount you send out? So the cost of ownership per text message we have not worked on. The investment that we made in developers was significant, but I guess your situation is going to be slightly different here because you benefit from ready-made software. So in the end, I guess our investment that we made into the product originally is not even all that relevant at this stage. So the investment that you would have to make into buying the equipment, training up your staff, and effectively acquiring a license for it is what you should work in a business case together with Mladen maybe after this call. The other element was to see whether it scales linearly. That's again, I guess, relating to the cost question. The idea is very much to be able to give you, again, control of your own destiny. So it's a discussion that you would have to go in with Mladen over time. So that's all the questions that we have time for today. If there are any more questions coming in, please send them in via email. I've got the little last slide here I want to show you. I think there you go. So there is a webinar at erlangsolutions.com email address. You can forward any further queries to. And I'll let Mladen also close it and announce something else.
Well, thanks for that, Marcus, and I'm sure everyone will be joining me in thanking you for what was a very inspiring talk on Buzzard. Many thanks to all of you as well who have joined us for the webinar. Please join us on March the 6th at 3:30 UK time, that's March the 6th, for our next webinar, which will be dealing with another topic that Marcus mentioned in passing, and that is regarding one of our other products called Mongoose IM, which is an instant messaging platform. You will have a chance to hear about the impressive scalability, massive concurrency, and fault tolerance of Mongoose, which basically makes it the messaging platform of choice in the world of social media, gaming, healthcare, and many other industries. On that occasion, we will also have a very good speaker in the shape of Alexander Fock, the Director and Systems Architect at Uvu Communications, joining us to tell you a bit about Uvu's experience with Mongoose. Now, we will be sending you a very short survey to make sure we capture your feedback of today's webinar. Please also note that, as we mentioned just a tiny bit earlier, that the presentation has been recorded. It will be available via the ESL corporate website, and you can find that on erlang-solutions.com. Thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you again on our next webinar.